Recording now. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This should be a pretty small class. We had 90 some people accept our invitations, but on LinkedIn, that doesn't always mean 90 some people are going to show up, as we've learned. But the nice thing is most of them do end up watching the replays. Our last event, we had over 500 people come back and view our replay of the event, which is always good to know that we're at least getting the message out. Today, we're going to be talking about using KMxAuthor with our KMxLive product to engage remote learning students. And the reason this is important is I think we all realize that a lot of bad press has hit the virtual education, virtual learning market, remote learning market since the beginning of the pandemic. One of the major reasons that instructors, teachers, and professors are having a hard time with it is because they're having a difficult time getting their students to actually engage. And we've tried a lot of different ways to get students to engage, and we've got a lot of technologies to monitor student engagement with our product here at KMxLive. But the real key to getting students to engage is to get them to actually participate, to get them to do something with you. Now, some people are putting out a lot of poll questions. We've seen shared activities, shared whiteboard activities, things like that, and those are all good. But one of the problems that you have is if it doesn't really affect the student's grade, then it may or may not entice them to actually engage with you and participate. So one of the things we're going to be talking about today is how to use tools like KMxAuthor with KMxLive to get your students engaged. I think we also all know that there's three primary learning styles out there. A lot of people are auditory learners. There's a very high majority that are visual learners. And there are some people that just can't learn it if they can't do something with their hands. If they're tactile learners, they have to be active. I've actually known quite a few of these people that if they're not asked to do something, they're not able to do something, or they're not able to participate, learning becomes extremely difficult. So those are the three primary learning styles. There's others. A lot of people would include writing and reading as learning styles, which is good, and having something on the screen like our slides to, for the student to, to read is certainly something that's beneficial. I've watched a lot of virtual classes over the last couple of years during the pandemic, working, with different educators, and one of the things that I find difficult to understand is why they leave 50 webcams up on their screen all the time with very little material for the students to actually learn from. I mean, I just can't imagine sitting in a classroom and the only thing that I can see is the smiling faces of the other students in the room, and there's nothing else to visually engage me. So again, we're going to be talking a lot about these things today and how KMxAuthor used with KMxLive can get your students engaged. AJ Evanish, our senior project manager and the guy who actually runs KMxLive.com, will be doing the first part of the presentation. And he's been with us for quite a few years now, and has taken a major hand in designing and developing the tools that you're looking at today. So with that, I will turn it over to AJ.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is AJ Evanish, as Jack pointed out, and I'm a project engineer here at KMSI. And today we're going to be discussing how to use KMxAuthor with KMxLive to engage remote learning students. So as a brief overview, for those of you not familiar with KMxLive, it's our virtual classroom technology, and it's also what we're leveraging today. So for those of you attending live or those of you watching this via replay, you're utilizing KMxLive. Later, you'll see how KMxLive differs from other virtual meeting room technologies when content is physically pushed to you that you're able to interact with. For you replay users, you'll receive the same experience as the live attendees. So there's no more watching just video recordings. You'll actually be able to participate with that push content. The content that we'll be pushing is developed in KMxAuthor, which is our free authoring tool and kind of the bulk of our conversation today. All right, so yes, you heard that correctly. I did say it's a free authoring tool. KMxAuthor is currently free for use and available on KMxDirect.com. So why did we develop KMxAuthor and why would we offer it for free? Well, the simple answer is that our customers needed a means of rapidly developing and delivering simulation and e-learning content without unnecessary expense. So keep in mind, we didn't set out to compete with major authoring tools, but as I'm sure a lot of us know, those tools are pretty expensive and they generally require a per user license. Typically, those licenses are held by a set group of individuals within an organization. So, if a manager wanted to create training for his or her employees, well, they'd have to work through the e learning development team, which obviously costs time and money. Furthermore, most individuals aren't going to jump right in and master an authoring tool without significant and lengthy training. KMX Author is really easy to learn and use. So if you're comfortable with using Microsoft Word as an example, you'll be able to develop training in KMX Author with just a little bit of practice. That means you're going to have more users in your organization with access to develop simulation and on the job training. So one of the big advantages of KMX Author is that it outputs lessons purely in HTML5. So all popular e-learning authoring tools have evolved obviously quite a bit from legacy technologies like Flash and are often unable to incorporate HTML5 features and capabilities. You might even be part of an organization that built a ton of training in Flash, and then you had to go back and retire it or rebuild it, your entire content library. So a large challenge with authoring tools is that they produce they produce published files for upload into an LMS. Well, the issue is those published files aren't editable. So if you don't have that original master pre-published file, you can't really make a whole lot of changes to it. Whereas KMX Author, well, we don't require a desktop application since it's fully cloud-based. There's no such thing as a publish and a pre-published file, so future revisions are really a breeze. Now, since it is HTML5, well, that also means it works on any contemporary browser or device. So no more mobile versus desktop version. You can make one training that's going to work and look great on any device. As I mentioned a bit previously, KMX Author is designed to enable anyone to develop e-learning and simulations. Since it leverages the WordPress HTML5 web page development interface for the main editor, you'll find that it's really easy to use. It's going to look very familiar to you, just like Word. All standard formatting and editing options are available at your disposal. Obviously, we've added some e-learning and SCORM functions so that the lessons generated are fully SCORM conformant. That's going to include things like bookmarking, scoring, session time, completion status. All those things are included, so it's suitable for any learning management system. I say this every time, but note that KMSI does have our own LMS. It's called KMX, and I advise that you check that out at kmsi.com. KMX Author includes hotspot navigation, which is great for simulation-based training, but you can also leverage simplified navigation with previous, next, and home buttons, or a combination of both. Other options include hyperlinks to direct users to specific slides, so branch logic is fully supported. Note that WebVTT entries are also supported, so if you're loading videos into KMX Author, you're able to support your hearing impaired audience, but you can also load multiple WebVTT entries for multilingual support. Great. I'm going to come back to that slide. All right. So the KMX Author tool that you're seeing on screen, the little screenshot, that's from our hotspot crop and shape editor. So after adding an image to KMX Author, you can open this menu and adjust the items that I just mentioned. Images can be shaped by using one of the pre-formatted shapes on the upper menu, but you can also leverage just a standard crop tool. You can add a hotspot or hotspots to an image and then specify the slide number that the hotspot directs the learner. So if your goal is to quiz the learner, you could have a hotspot that allows them to proceed while another lands them on a remediation page from which they have to navigate back and try again. Note that you can also animate images from this menu, and you have some control over animation duration and delay. So let's say you want to have an image fly in from the right for 2 seconds, and you want it to happen 10 seconds after the slide starts. Well, you can do that. So when we bring some of these items together, you'll see how easily you can develop equipment and process simulations. So like I mentioned on the previous slide, You can leverage hotspots or links to challenge your users and instruct them on a proper procedure. Incorrect answers can lead to a remediation page. And then, since we can provide a return link, well, users can try again until the correct procedure is performed. Now, like you see on the screen with a simple example, you could apply this to equipment, such as a repair procedure. But realistically, the same could be applied to a software simulation where the learner is instructed how to perform a specific task within software. Using screenshots, you could quickly document a software process procedure and then use hotspots to reinforce where those clicks need to occur in the actual application. As I'm sure you've caught on from prior slides, developers can include images, audio, and videos within KMX Author, but you can also include audio and video transcripts, reference documents, and links to external URLs. So perhaps you want to provide a link to a document on your intranet that the user should review or reference. Well, you can easily add that in. We do also support embed code. So things like what YouTube videos, Google Maps, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, a whole bunch that I haven't even tried yet. Most of them support embed code, which you can drop right into KMX Author. I actually hosted an event for that a few months back. So if you want to see how that's done, you can visit it and review it in our replay library on kmxdirect.com. For reference, it's really easy. Most of those applications just include an option to embed code. So you just copy that and drop it right into KMX Author. And Jack will actually have an example of that coming up in the live demos where it leverages Google Maps. Right. Sorry, I'm bouncing around a little bit here. So in summary, before I hand this over to Jack for some demos, our first goal with KMX Author was to create an authoring tool that could be used by unlimited authors with zero additional expense. It's very easy to learn and use, and it's based on the WordPress editor. So you'll notice a common layout, just like Word for formatting. All of the lessons that are output are pure HTML5, so it's designed to work on most modern devices, including mobile. No more managing multiple content records for desktop versus mobile use. We've included the most requested features without diving heavy into complex lesson development. So again, we didn't intend to compete with major authoring tools, and that's not the goal. Rather, we wanted to provide the tools necessary to create quick and effective e-learning. And then lastly, KMX Author is fully SCORM conformant for record keeping, audits, and progress management. So it's suited for any learning management system. But again, I'm going to plug our learning management system, KMX. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Jack so we can push out some live demonstrations from you that were developed with KMX Author.
Thanks, AJ. One of the things that surprised me the most with the full HTML5, from scratch development was some of the functionality we were able to achieve that isn't available in any other authoring tool. And we've got a lot of experience with all of them. Our clients, have used, pretty much everything from Lector to, Toolbook to Articulate, every variant, etc. And some of the unique things that you can do with HTML5, like use embed code within your lesson and actually, have that, be functional for, the user. And we're going to show you some of that here in just a second. It's quite impressive. But the thing I think that impressed me the most was the fact that now that most browsers, Edge, Firefox, etc., have translation features that are quite good. Any lesson developed with KMX Author and even the lesson development interface of KMX Author support the language translation features of the browser. So some customers, they don't really know exactly what languages they need or how far they're going to reach with their learning, and maybe they'll do English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, a handful of languages, and then all of a sudden decide, oh well, we should have done Chinese, or we should have done Japanese, or we should have done Korean, and the list can start to get pretty endless pretty quick. But the browser translation capability in the browsers today, it's not 100%. Technical terms tend to suffer a little bit, but it's a whole lot better than nothing for the person who's having difficulty, with your presentation because the language isn't there. Now, the interface that you're looking at here is currently in 54 languages, so I'm pretty sure we've got your language for the KMxLive, side of the equation. Those are all things to think about as you're, thinking about, how you're going to put things into a virtual learning environment, especially live like this, where you're presenting materials. Now I'm going to ship out a couple of different examples that AJ talked about already. One of the first ones we're going to do is just a simple simulation. Go ahead and send that to you now. It's three screens in KMxAuthor. I'm just trying to give you an idea of something very simple with the same video running each time, and the situation will you'll see pretty quickly allows you to navigate to any one of the elements within the lesson, so you can go forward, go backward, or stop. Now, I usually play Simon Says with this one because a lot of people like Simon Says. But again, I'll let you guys play with that a little bit for a second, just so you kind of get the idea of how just three simple screens can get you to the point where you're actually navigating through. Okay, so I see everybody's pretty much played around with at least one or two buttons here to get the thing going, and I'll go ahead and bring you back to the room now. Now I have a dashboard in front of me. And the dashboard, when there's active content on the screen, tells me what you're doing, tells me what slides you viewed, what score you have, what questions you've answered correctly. And the dashboard tells me if you're paying attention. And right now we have 100% attention across the board. And it tells me, whether you completed any of the tasks that we've handed you so far. That's important when you're trying to gauge student engagement. But the other thing, it tells me if you're actually have the screen up in front of you, or you're updating your Facebook profile or doing something else. The author or the instructor here is going to know, if you're multitasking while you're trying to attend the course, and that's going to affect your attention score, for the class. We're not trying to cover all the KMxLive features today, but I just thought I'd let you know, that those are things that are active on my screen right now, and I actually have the ability to engage in a private chat with you if I need to be able to maybe get you to pay attention a little bit if you're up doing your YouTube podcast while you're supposed to be in class. So the next one here that we're going to run up here is very short. It's an exercise, and again, all these were developed with KMxAuthor. And this exercise says, just a small handful of questions and give you an idea of how you can keep your students engaged while you're in the middle of a class. Now, these first two that I've pushed didn't have any audio associated with them, so I could talk through them or talk with them, and at the same time monitor whether or not you're actually doing the lesson. I know what you're clicking. I know if you make a correct answer, an incorrect answer, on any of these questions. And after a period of time, if somebody's not going anywhere, or they're not participating, then you can say hey, Susie, or Shirley, or Sammy, why aren't you paying attention? Or I could initiate a private chat. And in fact, all three of our moderators today have access to this dashboard. They can see who is and who isn't participating, which is good if you're an instructor that likes to teach instead of look at icons on a screen and monitor things. Sometimes I'll designate a moderator for a large class, and that moderator can help me make sure people are paying attention and moving forward. So again, I think we get the idea on how this little picture lesson works, and all that. It does affect your score in this one. We've got this one scored as well. So you can tell students, okay, well, this does affect your score. That's another thing that will probably get them to pay a little closer attention. I'm going to go ahead and bring you back to the room now. The next one I wanted to show you real quickly is an equipment simulation, because a lot of our customers, uh, they're automotive, they're truck manufacturers, they do, things that are mechanical. And, when you're trying to do mechanical, things over a virtual classroom environment, it's always best to get some tactile, feedback, with the students actually doing things. This is a short little equipment simulation just to give you an idea of, how to engage the tactile learner to get them involved. And maybe I've just explained to you how, this piece of equipment works. And now I want to test you to see if you can actually follow a procedure and do things in the correct order. Well, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and push this out to you. Let's see. I don't believe this one has audio either. Again, when they have audio, I usually, either shut up or mute my microphone so that, you can hear what the lesson is saying. But in this case, the first three that I pushed through didn't have any audio. And you have a little toggle thing on the bottom right of your screen that will let you toggle back to the room and ask questions in the chat room, or dialogue with the instructor if you need to. That's put there as a convenience in case the student gets stuck or just can't proceed. And again, I think everybody by now gets the idea how this equipment simulation works and how you could have clickable hotspots, have things for the students to actually do. We're going to do something a little more complex here in just a second, but I'm trying to give you a flavor of different things that can happen here. I'm going to go ahead and bring you back to the room. The next one we're going to look at is a software process simulation. And again, this is the beauty of HTML5, because you really can't do this in any other authoring tool this easily. What I've seen, developed here, is very short, for this presentation, but you can develop a full blown, screen simulation with the tool and simply do it by copying and pasting out of your application. And that's how this was developed. This next one was developed, simply with a copy and paste. I'm going to put it up here. Let's see. This is your first KMxLive event. I don't know if AJ's even seen this one. The developers just came through with this one, recently. But take a look at this, and go ahead and move through the form when you get there. I see a couple of you are still loading here. And all the controls that were available in HTML5 and the visual look and feel of the controls was preserved under KMxAuthor. And literally, that was a copy and paste out of the application. And then the next button at the bottom is just taking you to the next slide. But all of the feel and features of the software itself are available to the user. So, this is, something I'm quite confident can't be done in any authoring tool, with a simple, copy and paste, and, to try and get that HTML5 look, feel, functionality in the controls of the, calendar, controls and the time controls, and you must fill this in, or it must be this long. That would take an awful lot of work. I think AJ could, probably, back me up on this. That would take an awful lot of work to build just that one little screen in Articulate. That would be a major project just for that one screen, and that's why people don't do it, is because it gets so expensive. So again, I think you get the idea here of what can be done. That whole thing probably took the developers, maybe 15 minutes to put together, because the copy and paste out of the application was flawless. I mean, it looks exactly the same as the real software, which is kind of neat, to be able to, to do something like that for a class when you're trying to teach software, or, screen applications and things like that. Go ahead and bring you back to the room here. Okay, now this next one uses embed code from Google Maps, and all of the social media apps like Google Maps, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest. I can't name them all. Pretty much allow you to use what's called embed code to embed things onto your website. Well, because HTML5 is the basis of KMX Author, and it uses a WordPress interface, which is supported by all the social media giants. All of their technology transfers directly into KMX Author without editing. You don't have to do anything. And before I push this out to you, what I would like to do is a quick screen share. Let's see if I can find this one. Chrome tab. Should be that one. Okay, so this is the KMX Author interface. AJ, you can see that okay from there?
Yep.
Okay, and this is the lesson I'm about to push to you. It's like 17 slides, and we're not going to go through the whole thing. But what I did want to show you is, click on the White House to begin your adventure. So if I go over here to the White House, I bring up the editing tools, I can actually, change, where these things click, like this KMX Direct over here, where it is free to the public. All KMX Author tools, features, and learning materials are available free. And it allows me to edit that link. I'm not going to edit it, but I'm just trying to give you the idea how this works. And this one fades in. It doesn't auto advance. This one has a click here to continue. This one has a hotspot on it. And the hotspot is on the China room, and the rest of it is the wrong answer. It's very, very easy to come in here and author. This next one uses Google, Maps, and this is really Google Maps. I mean, it's really Google Maps, and it's just a simple embed. I copied and pasted, the code from Google and, plugged it in, and now it works just like Google Maps, and I can navigate around this room. This thing over on the side, the Q&A, is what we call a control, and this is our multiple selection interaction, where we've decided we're going to have 4 possible answers. The correct answer is number 2. I've just given you the answer to the first question. Our questions are going to have a brown background. Our answers are going to have a tan background. We can make these whatever we want. These are full color controls. We want our correct responses to be green with a black font, our incorrect responses to be red with a white font, et cetera, et cetera. We can float it right, float it left, center it, however we want it to display on the page. And then we can just update it. We can even copy it right here, to use it as the basis for, our next question, which makes your development process easier, because you don't have to keep going through and selecting all these colors if you want to use, the same color palette throughout your lesson. So I'm going to scroll down to one here. Okay, so here's one where, there's a remediation. There's an automatic remediation. And in this case, there's a wrong question response, given. And the user is going to be detained for 12 seconds, and the little countdown timer, counts. And then they're, taken back to try again. So these are the kind of neat things you can do. It's a very easy to use interface. I, certainly not going to try and cover it all today. But if you've used WordPress or Word, Microsoft Excel, or PowerPoint, you're already familiar with all these icons, and all you have to do is hover over them, to get more information. And then if you need to learn, some of the advanced features, you can either read this little blurb up here to answer, the easy questions, or there's a full tutorial that goes along with it, and there's a PDF that's a guide, that's a searchable guide that you can go through and get answers to, how do I do anything. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing that and transfer back over to the screen here and send that actual lesson out to you. Okay, this is called National Treasure Hunt. And again, our moderators all have something, on our screen that tells us if you're actually doing it, which is always nice. I'll let you click through a couple of screens on that, and I'll be quiet so you can hear the audio. And again, the object here today is not to, have you go through the whole treasure hunt and find, the right answer. The object is to, let you see some of the really nifty things that you can do in a virtual classroom environment that you just simply can't do with any other technology. You can't do this with Zoom. You can't do this with class. You can't do this with GoToMeeting, GoToTraining, WebEx class. Yeah, none of these other products were built for this kind of a training environment because, quite frankly, they were built as meeting rooms. We can deliver exams, we can do advanced proctoring, we can break you all out, into your own little cubicles and, put your webcam and your screen cams on and monitor you taking a test. There's just an unlimited number of things, that we've thought of because of the experience that we have, in the market. The founders of KMSI and AJ, I don't know how many thousands of years of experience we've got. Maybe that's just because we're old. I'm not sure. But long story short, we've done this for a long time and put some very large programs in place. And so that's kind of nice to be able to, be able to see how these things evolve. Okay, so I brought you back to the room here. Now, when I said that we were looking at moderator controls, and I'm not going to, share my screen and show it again. Whenever there's content on the screen, we get a control panel that's appropriate for the content. So if it's a game, and this all supports our KMX games technology. We know who's, winning. We know, what, time they, and if they've used any lifelines and, whether they're actually participating, how many questions they've got right, what their score is, et cetera, et cetera. Those are moderator controls, and moderator controls adapt to the content. So if the content allows you to start and stop, or reset, or to, set a pause, like KMX games, you can, say, I want it to pause on the third question or the fifth question. Then the moderator controls adapt, to the content that's being delivered. And this works with, our products. Now, KMxLive can deliver Articulate and Toolbook and any other third-party e-learning authored tool. The problem is they won't paint the moderator controls on the screen for the moderator. So, you can do it, and it'll work. Just, realize that if you use KMxAuthor to develop your interactions, you're also going to get the moderator controls that give you the ability to start, stop, pause, and monitor, student progress through your lesson. And it isn't that the other, authoring tools are bad or good. It's just that they don't, present the SCORM data necessary to be able, to put these kind of controls on the screen. In fact, hardly any authoring tools out there on the market today, leverage the entire SCORM dictionary, like KMxAuthor, which gives you the ability to do some of these more advanced features. Now, when there's not anything pushed, any content on your screen, I have a little toggle display button that lets me see how you're doing. And this tells me who you are, tells me, what your score is, tells me what your attention percentage is, whether you're, drifting off or you've got your Facebook profile up. Tells me your percent complete, how many of the elements did you actually get through, and what your lesson status is, whether you're going to get a certificate of completion at the end. These are all things that you get on the dashboard. Now, if I click on any name on that dashboard that comes up, I'm going to get your full grade book. Okay, that's a subset of the dashboard, because what if the student says, well, how come I didn't pass? Well, you're going to need to be able to tell them. Well, on the third or the third quiz that we put out, you answered 16 out of 20 questions wrong, so you didn't pass. So those are the kind of things that this does. So it's almost like having the grade book for the student up in front of you without having to go to the LMS. That was the whole goal, was to be able to really run your class and be able to see what people are doing and toggle back and forth. So that you can also, talk to your slides and talk to your media and talk to your, presentation materials. Okay, so all this results in replay. We've recorded this today, and all of the interactivities that have been pushed, the replay users will get to, to do as well. So let's say that you've got a game and you've put you got a leaderboard in it, and the live students, did it, and Sammy won, and then on demand now, the on demand users can challenge Sammy for that, head, leaderboard position using the on-demand, version. This is automatically generated by the system, and it is not a video. It is an e-learning course. The system is going to generate this. I was actually shocked how quick it's generating these because of all that it has to do. I mean, you would think it'd take an hour or two for the system to, plug through and generate one of these. It's actually, been taking about 10 minutes, to chug through one of these things. And you've got a full-blown e-learning course that'll play in any LMS. And KMxLive that you're looking at will play in any LMS. There's no integration required associated with this product. It will just work. And we've tested it, and you can test it yourself for free. We won't, you don't get charged to, to play around with this thing. You can go out to KMxLive.com and try it yourself. It will work in any LMS. And we thank the people over at Storm Cloud for helping us with all of our testing, because they were very helpful in making sure that we didn't miss some key function that was needed by Cornerstone or needed by Blackboard or needed by one of these third-party tools that we don't work with every day. So you also get things like the collapsible thumbnail navigation that you would expect out of any good e-learning course, text transcripts that are fully searchable. So the transcript from this, wherever I said, any phrase or word, or AJ said anything, you can search for that, and it'll auto navigate in the course to that point in time where that's being, discussed. I mean, that's a pretty handy, self-study feature, for students that can't remember what AJ said about HTML5 and they want to look it up. You also get the web VTT caption for the hearing impaired, the media text overlays for the vision impaired. And again, it's all mobile ready. All your exams, simulations, everything we did will work on every device. You can go try this as soon as we publish the replay on your cell phone. Or you could have taken this lesson today on your cell phone, or I could have taught this lesson today on my cell phone. I've even taught it with my smart glasses. AJ's seen me do that a few times. It's kind of embarrassing because, I look like I'm from Star Trek or something. But it works because it's pure HTML5. And then that's the beauty of having, a product that hasn't had to evolve out of a bunch of legacy tools and is going to work in any environment. So with that, I've taken up most of my allotted time here. Were there any questions that we could answer here that anybody has? I did push 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things out to everybody before we get into our summary. Kira, feel free to come on camera if you feel like it. I think everybody's unlocked if you want to come on camera and talk. With us, but I'll go through a couple of points here. KMxAuthor was built to be extremely easy to use. If you can use Word, you can use KMxAuthor. Both tools are designed to where the interface isn't overwhelming or burdensome. We can lock down the browser. Is there a lockdown browser that can be enabled? I'm not sure I understand the question. Everybody is currently, I think, unlocked. Yeah, everybody's currently unlocked, Patrick. If I'm probably not answering your question correctly, but feel free to try again and move me along unless somebody else thinks they know what Patrick's talking about. Patrick and I worked together on a previous live. Okay, it supports any learning management system, and so does KMxLive. KMxAuthor is pretty feature packed. I mean, you can animate your slides, you can animate your images. You've got the crop and shape tools. You got the hotspot navigation. You've got the link navigation. Anything you do on a website, with WordPress, you can do in KMxLive, and no other authoring tool on the market can do any of these embedded features or translation features or full HTML5 cut and paste out of your website and put it into your training and it works features. It's just not possible with with these third-party products. Both support all devices. KMxAuthor provides KMxLive with those control panels that we looked at a minute ago and updates the dashboards, which is, it's handy, to be able to know where the student is when you're pushing content out. If you've ever pushed out a YouTube video, to your students, and I could do that right now. I don't really like to do it because I don't know if they're watching it. I can't control it at that point. I have no way of knowing, whether or not, they're with me or not, or whether they, hit the snooze button or hit the mute button. With KMxLive, you can control all those things with these control panels and the dashboard updates. KMxAuthor is 100% free. AJ, why don't you put the URL in the chat room for everybody, so they can go out there and play with KMxAuthor for free. And obviously, if you buy, our products, you get, our content management system underneath KMxAuthor, which is super cool. But if you just want to develop courseware and export it and play it in your LMS, KMxAuthor is free. On the KMxLive side of the equation, this is the only virtual classroom that delivers measurable content. Now, I know that, class and Zoom and GoToTraining have the ability to deliver quizzes and exams, and you can say that's measurable content, I guess. But what those are really exams. They're not interactivity. That's just Q&A. With KMxLive, you're able to deliver anything that's web deliverable, anything. If it can be delivered over the web, KMxLive can push it. And that includes anything, PDFs. So you can navigate to a page on a PDF. You can push anything that's web deliverable, including third-party or your own developed e-learning content, whether or not you use our tools or any third-party tool. As long as that tool supports SCORM, it works in KMxLive. And one of the neat things about what we're trying to do here to get this moving, it's a new product. This is KMxLive is a fairly new product. Is letting people have their first 20 events for free at KMxLive.com. So you go there, you register, it automatically credits your account with 20 event credits, and you can try it out without any obligation whatsoever. You don't have to put in a credit card; you just do it. You can try it out in working with your LMS. There's extensive tutorials on the KMx live site, as there are on KMX Direct supporting KMxAuthor. So you're not going to get lost. There's just enormous support materials out there available for you to get into doing these things quickly and easily and without a lot of pain. AJ, did you want to add anything to the summary that I've already provided?
No, other than just thanking those of you who attended with us live today, and also those of you watching this in the future via replay. I just advise you to give both of these a chance. Both of them are free. There's no obligation. So check out KMxAuthor at KMxDirect.com, and then KMxLive with self-registration right on KMxLive.com.
Okay, great. Kara, since you've been so involved with customer support and marketing of this, did you have anything you wanted to throw in there that you think I missed?
I don't have anything to add. I think you guys did a great job covering everything. But yeah, I definitely check it out. It's definitely worth it.
How's the weather down there in Florida today?
It's good. It's getting back up in the 80s.
Oh, we haven't seen the 80s since the
It's
80s.
been months for me.
Yeah, Kira's in Florida, AJ's in Michigan, and I'm outside Washington, D.C. So, okay, well, I'm going to put one thing in the chat room for everybody. This is a white paper that talks about effective engagement of your students. It's not long; it's like 6 pages. If you get a chance, copy and paste that up. And take a read on it. Give me some feedback too. It's got a comments thing underneath. It's a LinkedIn Pulse article, I think you'll hopefully see that we're trying to solve some problems out there. A lot of people don't realize it, but teachers are quitting at a faster rate now than ever in history, because they're really tired of having to fight through keeping their students engaged in virtual learning. Now, hopefully, the pandemic turns around to the point where that isn't a big problem. But I think it really highlighted another issue, and that's student engagement. And I think if you read that article, you'll see some really easy solutions to getting better performance out of your remote learning and your virtual classroom programs without having to make any investment whatsoever. It's just process and a how-to kind of thing to get you to the finish line. So with that, if nobody has any other comments, I see none of our participants came on audio. You're more than welcome. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up, and hopefully we've answered as many of your questions as possible. And if you have any more, I'll stick around here in the room even after we stop the recording to chat in the chat room. With that, I'm stopping the recording.